had to hear Alexander say he wanted to fund community groups because we're a community group. Although I'm not sure it's one that Alexander would want to fund because we work with refugee communities.
Refugees, you know.
So go on, let's hear the question. Let's go.
Okay. It's really one probably towards Jonathan. The benefit cap has affected over 700 families in Wandsworth. We've seen 8 families from refugee backgrounds who've been through extremely traumatic experiences in their home countries who've been evicted from Wandsworth as a direct result of the benefit cap. They are some of our most vulnerable families. They've been housed outside the borough. So Kent, sometimes Sussex, Croydon, all sorts of places. They're struggling to get their children back to school in the borough. They're having to travel sometimes 2 hours. They can't afford the costs. Sometimes they've even lost small pieces of work and their access to ESOL classes and all sorts of other things. I understand that Wandsworth Council at the end of this financial year returned over £500,000 to central government that was earmarked for discretionary housing payments that could have kept those families in their homes. And I want to ask, why they weren't supported and kept in their homes, and also the cost to the taxpayer, let alone to the family in terms of the children's education and the personal devastation to those families.
Okay, obviously I don't know the specifics of those cases. The money that was returned to central government was purely because people hadn't applied for it within the terms of the...
So our families weren't told that it was available to them.
I'm not sure it was directly aimed at refugee families. I think we will all
but I think because
families are very,
it doesn't discriminate on how large the family is. So we work with lots of families who've come over with, quite big families because that is culturally what in other countries that's more usual. And so
some countries.
Some countries. So we
countries refugees come from. Okay.
So that means that they are disproportionately affected by this benefit cap. We've also seen a number of single parents who are affected and a number of women fleeing domestic violence who are also affected. So it's not just refugee families, and the people the children are the people who are really badly affected by this. And it's always families who have more children because they're going to get more money in benefits. They need more money, and because most of their money is going on private rent, so it goes back to housing as well.
Well, we have a family where there are a large number of children. Obviously, that's a far higher grade level of need, and that's very difficult. So it's sometimes go a bit further out is going to be the solution to finding space for to accommodate people. I think everyone would love to be able to say you can be in SW11, SW3, or whatever, but it's just not practical, is it? I think our record as a council and as a country on looking after refugees is a superb one. I think we do our very best.
To disagree with that, but that's an acceptance then that poor and vulnerable families don't have a place in Battersea.
But
that is what you're saying. That is what you're saying.
Can I just because you can stop and you stop it from
space is finite. Space is finite.
Sorry, one second.
Space. Space is finite and money is finite. We've got to be realistic about that. Everybody who wants to be in a
£500,000 has been sent back to central government that could have.
But I'd like totally agree with what she's saying because. Like, seriously, if I shouldn't be scared to grow up and have lots of kids. If I want to have a big family, I should have a big family. Regardless of me being a refugee or not, these people have come because apparently London is supposed to be a better place for you to get education and work. If I come with a bunch of kids who could potentially grow up to put money back into the system by working, I want to do that. So kicking them out of the area that needs it the most, again, young people are the future. So by kicking these families out and having their mums and their dads go through hardships and hell just to get them an education, you feel bad as a kid for putting that kind of pressure on your mother to provide. And number two, you can't be kicking out families because you need them here for the economy to keep going successfully.
And they're families that are rooted in Battersea. They're not families who've recently arrived. These are families who've been here sometimes 10 years.
Then what's the definition of refugee then?
Somebody who's fled a country and has refugee status here.
Becomes resettled rather than newly arrived refugees.
Well, lots of them have British citizenship, but they've come originally as refugees.
Let's say from UKIP, because they've also been in the press about this.
Well, not about refugees. Refugees is a completely different issue because, and I think I'm echoing Nigel Farage when I say this, we have a wonderful history of taking in refugees as a country, and we should not stop doing that. We always help people from wars and places like that to come to this country and give them a good home and hope for the best for them. But the reason why I joined UKIP, and you briefly outlined when you talk about the students from universities accepting students from foreign backgrounds, is the fact that
because the fees are so high.
Yeah, because the fees are so high. Is that I feel like young people living here are placed as a second priority, and I'm talking as a son of an immigrant from Turkey and Tunisia. I'm talking because I think that our resources as a country are being strained dramatically, and we need to fix that. And the only way we can do that is to control our borders. And on refugees, and therefore I feel like they need all the help they need. So I think the council really needs to do something about that. And that's my point.
Yeah, just coming back to that, I think we do need to look again about how we make sure money isn't being bad. One of the big things I think, certainly with Lakshmi Award, has been how we make sure people know what they can claim for. And certainly I think in Lakshmi about 40% of people don't have computers, and often it's done online. So that gets rid of that lot for a start. They don't end up claim. And there are some real tragic cases, and I mean I know a fair bit about Lufton because I'm also Walter St John, so we give you and call them because there's a lot of brilliant work going on with refugees. But we've had various caseworks where actually, I mean, I am chair of governors at an outstanding school in Latchmere, in the middle of a council estate, and I'm very, very proud of what they do. But we've had cases where parents have been told they have to go an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours away. It completely disrupts the kids' education. So we're saying, well, you're not good enough to stay at an outstanding school. Move out and go to somewhere else. And I think that we really do have to get this, making sure people know what they can have here, because we've got a real good...
And maybe councillors should have surgeries in schools. Because I think one
I've had bed bugs at school.
But MPs will have a surgery where people will come and answer questions. But I think they need to reach out more, and maybe they need to go to various different schools, set up a surgery where they're the people that they want to talk to are actually there. Because they have like £500,000 and send it back to the government because you couldn't find anybody else that needed help. I think it's quite pathetic. And I think you've probably got a pat on the back for handing back that extra money.
Yeah, and the budget next year will be lower. There'll be less money available next year as well for those people. And our families can't access, they can't ask, they don't speak.